and welcome to Something to Think About, the podcast where we dive deeper into God's Word and the messages here at New Hope. I'm Ruben, one of the podcast hosts, and hosting today in this very special episode of Something to Think About because we are live and we're in front of a live audience. Can everyone say hello? All right, you guys are on a podcast now in the middle of this. And we are going through our series, Stories, where the past couple weeks we have been going through the leadership here at New Hope and learning their story to see where we can connect. And I'm excited because today we're joined by Pastor Kasper. How are you doing this morning?
Doing all right.
You're doing good? You ready for this?
Good. Yes.
I have to do a little disclosure, I have to admit something, and that is that I've known Kasper since college.
Yes.
So calling you Pastor Kasper seems a little strange for me.
It's kind of weird to hear you say that.
Okay, that's good. Even though, we were in college, 5 years ago or so? This seems
Five?
Oh, okay. It seems that way.
Do you know the dates?
Maybe. Seems that was. But no, I'm excited to dive into this story. We have been... last week, I interviewed Pastor Andre, learned a lot and connected a lot with his story, and I'm looking forward to talking with you as well. Yeah. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's learn more about your story like I did last week. Let's learn a little bit about your origin story. Where'd you come from? What was your upbringing like? Your family dynamics?
Yeah.
Was church part of your life growing up when you were young? Tell us about it. Let's start there.
Church, very much a part of my life. So I guess there's a couple different origin stories that folks tend to have when they're telling their faith journey, and mine is the one that's grew up in a Christian family. This kind of story, but it's kind of I almost feel like it was a Christian family on steroids.
On steroids.
So going back, my grandparents on both my parents' side work for the church, and my parents both are nurses. And growing up, though, we were in church probably just as much as any of the pastor's kids.
So you're at church all the time?
Yeah, in church all the time. My mom ran the choir. So every year when we do Easter play, the cantata, all of that, I came here, I saw our Easter play for the first time. I was I feel like I know these songs already.
So your parents probably should have been pastors anyway.
Well, and actually, kind of gets ahead of the story. But,
okay. I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
Kind of gets ahead of the story. But my parents eventually, when I'm down in my teenage years, my dad actually starts pastoring. So in the beginning, though, we're in church every week. But it's not just church. It's Wednesday. It's early on Saturday. It's late on Saturday. It's just, I feel like I grew up in the church, literally, physically in the church.
There all the time.
Yeah.
Now, did you go to elementary school, or how did that happen for you?
So my brother and I were actually homeschooled. I was homeschooled through the end of middle school.
So you were homeschooled?
Yeah.
So just for maybe there's some people who are not quite sure what that means. You means you were at home. Your mom was your teacher?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do we call our school? Valley of Eden Academy.
Okay, so
yeah.
It's just you and your brother?
Yeah, just me and my brother, yeah.
Okay, you guys were always the head of the class?
Oh, yeah,
always.
I was always, I had a 4.0 the whole time. Okay. Yeah, basically, yeah.
So with that experience then, you were always in church. Yeah. You were homeschooled till 8th grade, both you and your brother. Yeah. And then high school, how did that turn out? Did you stay at home, or what happened?
Yeah.
There?
So and actually, I think we have a couple of pictures.
Oh, we get to see you.
Yeah. So
okay.
this is back. My dad. They would always have worship with us. They would always be reading the Bible to us. So I grew up around the story of faith.
The book says the Bible stories. Yeah, this is true. You were always around.
Yeah.
Faith stories. And
so
which one are you?
I'm the one on the chair. My brother's the younger one.
Okay.
On the little chair. I can't say that there was a moment in my life where I was I'm choosing faith. I feel like it was just always there.
It was always a part of your life.
There was a moment though, and it's interesting that it didn't happen with preaching or Bible study. It happened with music, where I decided to give my life to God. Where I don't know, I can't even remember the age. It would have been somewhere after 7, 8, 9 years, somewhere in there, where we'd gone to a Steve Green concert.
Wow.
Yeah.
Steve Green.
For some of you,
if you know, you know.
Yeah.
It's a good Saturday afternoon music, yeah.
Yeah. And so we'd gone to the Steve Green concert, and he, like as you do at those concerts, like they give a call afterwards. And I remember on the drive home, I can't remember which one of my parents asked me, so what do you think? And I was like, yeah, that call at the end, I think I want to believe.
And how old were you?
I can't even put my finger on it. This is like somewhere between 8 and like 10, 11. Okay. My parents are watching right now. I'm sure they know exactly
they
the time and
down.
Yeah. But like it wasn't the like the preaching or the theology or the like study of something. It was more. There was just like an experience that I came out of. I was like this, and I can't even put my finger on it. Like, some people have in their faith stories like, I heard this, and then I believe, or I saw this. For me, it was just like...
A feeling?
A feeling. Like,
you just knew this is what you wanted to do. I just know
this is it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like, that's kind of become the pattern through my faith journey. Like, as we were kind of chatting before, like in the pre-interview, like, as I'm retelling my story to you, I'm realizing, oh, wow, there's actually repeating patterns coming up here.
So on that note, you kind of had this experience at a young age, which would make it seem like, all right, maybe this is where the calling begins, and that, excuse me, that trajectory of maybe going into pastoral work, but you were homeschooled, then you went to high school, which in our world would be like an academy, a Christian, maybe an Adventist academy, to kind of continue that trajectory, but you didn't go that route.
No, and I'm smiling, I'm chuckling to myself when you say like trajectory of pastoring and ministry.
Because we see you here now.
0%. I had 0%, zero desire to do anything ministry related.
Gotcha.
High school trajectory, completely opposite direction. So I went. Briefly, I did a stint at like a small private school. When I graduated middle school, I went to a small private school, and the academics were just not. I guess my parents saw that the academics weren't matching me. And so through a friend of the family, they found out about a thing called a magnet public school.
Excuse me, where was this?
San Antonio,
San Antonio, Texas. You're from Texas.
Yeah.
All right.
Born and raised.
Born and raised Texan.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they found out about this idea of the magnet public school. So for comparison, like if you've seen Friday Night Lights and the big football Texas State, like that is real.
That is real.
Like my high school, I think back at that time, should have had a campus of a couple thousand, maybe 3,000 kids. And like the next high school down the road had an upper classman and a lower classman, 6,000 students, big football. So like public school wasn't really in the cards for my parents or me, except they found out about this magnet school that was, so in San Antonio they had like I think 3 or 4 magnet schools for different major career fields. I went to the health career magnet school.
So for you went to this high school that was focused on healthcare, medicine, to kind of prepare you for that. Their students are preparing themselves for that route. Yeah,
so you take all your regular classes and then any elective, like you're not doing, PE, like you're taking medical terminology or you're taking surgical instrumentation, where you're learning all the.
Now, let me ask you this. For you and your family, where church spirituality was front and center, you mentioned your parents a little bit looking at the academics of things. How did they balance this with, this is always the question. How do I balance my children's spiritual growth with the school they go to? How did your parents focus on that?
I mean, I can only kind of reverse engineer it, but all I know is my experience. And all I remember is I had a strong church and I had an amazing school. Like it was like I'm almost envious to like see folks nowadays that are going to like a really good academic Christian school with sports program, with all the stuff and resources, and we're like, I guess back then it was like my parents created the best Christian school for me, meaning like my extracurricular time, I remember church being that on the weekends.
So your parents were very intentional
to
make sure that that spiritual Christian aspect continued in your life.
And we were in a small church, like just a normal, like small church. It was like 5, 6 families of us, and like other kids my age.
Yeah.
And I just remember like church being a place like we'd come in. There was Uncle Donald, this gentleman in the church that I guess a deacon or an elder, and like he just mentored it like from we were a little kid, like so. Uncle Donald brought literally the thing that drew me to church was I knew there'd be Cheerios.
You said Cheerios.
I knew there'd be Cheerios. Yeah. I knew there'd be Cheerios when we go to our class in the morning.
That's one thing to bring people to church.
Yeah, Cheerios and milk every week.
No, go ahead. What I wanted to say is on that note, because it's very interesting, and again, we had a chat before this, and I was just fascinated with I keep using the word trajectory you took, because every interview we do of the pastors, we just assume this has always been their dream and the track they're going to go on.
No, I had no
God
dream,
guided them on the steps.
No dream to do anything in church.
Exactly. So for you, it was almost at a school that was medicine inclined.
Yeah,
all I wanted to do. Where you wanted to go.
All I wanted to do, and maybe this is, so my parents immigrated here in the early 80s, and I don't know if this is like a generalization, but most of my friends who come from immigrant families, like you have this idea where it's just like there's you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a nurse. Like you shoot for the stars kind of deal. I don't know that it was pressure put on me as much as I also wanted that. Like in my mind, I'm going to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And then and I think it was because, like, looking at the people in I guess my parents' circle, the folks that you look up to are the ones who are the doctors. I still remember there was a doctor in high school. And he had a Lexus RX 300, the SUV, like when it first came out.
Yeah.
And I still remember that. Like, it's just like he was the guy who bought a Lexus cash.
So you were impressed by this. You felt this is the direction I want to go. I want to do, and it was almost encouraged with the school you went to. So did you want to just be? Yeah. What type of doctor did you feel you see yourself being?
Yeah. So that actually was a really cool story of how that. So. That school, you have to actually apply like it was a college to get in. And then as you're taking your classes as a freshman and sophomore, you end up, your electives being, so I remember the electives I took was, the first one was medical terminology, and then the next one I took was surgical instrumentation, which is basically the classroom, the book part of being a scrub tech. The scrub tech is a person in the OR who knows all the instruments, sterilizes them, and they're the ones where the doctor says scalpel.
So you were learning all this in high school.
At the end of my sophomore year, I basically was a scrub tech.
In high school. Wow.
And then my parents, or I forget how, we ended up finding out about this mission trip. And I think we actually have a picture here where we found out about this mission trip to Fiji. And
a mission trip to where? To
Fiji? To the island of Fiji. A medical mission trip.
Oh, wow.
And so my dad and I went on this trip. He's not in the picture there, but it was an eye surgeon that went on this trip. And so I think the next picture there, so because I had the scrub tech training, and this, I'm just like, I don't know, 15 or 16 maybe. But I still remember like just feeling so proud. Like he was like, well, since you know it, you're going to be my scrub tech for all my surgeries. And so I'm in the OR there. I'm his instrument guy. I sterilize everything afterwards, and we're just doing eye surgery. We do, I forget how many a day, like 10, 12 a day. He even let me do a surgery.
Wait a second. Are you admitting this for the first time that you did a surgery?
Yeah, we weren't. Yeah, we weren't under a.
I'm assuming it was a successful surgery.
Very successful.
Okay, good. We want to make sure that's out there because this is online.
Yeah, but no, that was where I just fell in love with. Like I was like, boom, that's what it is. Yeah. I want to be an eye surgeon, and actually, so this kind of love of medicine kind of goes back to I'm a little kid. The example of excellence that I was looking up to was Ben Carson. And so from a little kid, the book Gifted Hands,
that came out
and realizing, okay, a kid from anywhere, anyone can do this. You can go. So that was a really big. And so when I found ophthalmology, I was like, wow, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go. So that's where, like, being at Health Careers Magnet School, being around that whole entire thing, like, I knew what I wanted to do.
Well, I'm going to ask the obvious question, because obviously, unless you're going to do an eye surgery right now, you're not a surgeon.
No.
So how is it that you seemed very excited? It almost seems like, if I were an adult viewing you, I'd say, oh, this track is already chosen for you. You already know which way Kasper is going to be going.
Yeah.
Yet, you and I met in university.
Yeah.
You and I met, and you clearly were not on the trajectory to be an eye doctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what happened between you finishing high school and then you choosing the university, which was down in Tennessee at Southern?
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming you had some options in Texas. So how did you end up at Southern?
Yeah. So coming out of high school, I had 2 full rides, one to Xavier, one to Baylor. And there was just a part of me that was just like, because all my friends were going to UT Austin, and like a couple were going to A&M. Nobody, we don't like A&M.
Gotcha.
It's
a Texas
it's
thing.
A whole thing.
Gotcha.
Hook 'em horn. Look,
Gotcha.
It's a couple of you all know. But I was just like, look, I don't want to go from, because I was in, at Health Careers, we had a really good student-teacher ratio. Like, it was like your hands-on, like, my professors were PhDs or like actual practice.
This was in high school?
This is in high school, yeah. So like, and then I'm looking at it doing the math in my head, why am I going from a class of like 20, 30 to 1 to go to a class of 300 to 1 with a TA the whole time? And so I was like, let me, I've heard about this thing, because like when you're in an Adventist church, at least the ones I grew up in, almost like 4 times a year, someone gets up front and says, we value Christian education.
Sure.
They tell like this utopia of like this academy and these universities where it's just like, it's this beautiful, wonderful place. So I was like, man, I really want to go experience, like, it's a small school, okay, so I have my ratio, and like, I want to go, like, experience what it's like to be at a Christian school.
And you still wanted to do pre-med, I'm assuming.
Yeah, pre-med, yeah. So these 2 things where I'm like, it's got to be a school with a high acceptance rate to med school, and I want it to be like, if I can choose what I want to do, like, then I want to see if what's this Adventist school like? Yeah. And I remember going and touring a couple Adventist universities, and they were like super big into sports, and like, I go in and say, hey, I'm pre-med, and show me the Bible building, and they're driving me over to the sports building and show me the basketball
Well, you came
program.
from Texas, so they would assume.
That, yes, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I don't really care that you go and play all the teams everywhere. Like, show me the Bible building, and I walk in, it's leaking, and I'm asking, like, how many PhDs do you have on staff? And they're like, well, we can get back to you. I'm like, I'm not even going to ask what your acceptance rate to medical school is. Yeah. And that was that school at that time, and I'm not mentioning the name. But I remember we got, I forget how, but we ended up flying out to Southern to go see it, to go tour it. The moment I walked on campus, I was like, this is like Ivy League stat. Like, this is, but what I mean by Ivy League status is like the resources are there, the buildings are new, the equipment's fresh. I go and tour the bio program there. I sit down with the dean and I ask him, and he's just answering all my questions. Boom, how many PhDs? Boom, boom. How many? What's your acceptance rate? 98%. I'm like, 98%. That's not a real number.
You were asking in-depth questions for someone graduating from high school, but again, it just seems like God is guiding you down this path and answering all your questions on medical field. Yeah. It seems all the boxes are being checked off. Yeah. You end up going to Southern. Yeah. Pre-med. Well, everything seems in that trajectory.
But I feel like, and as you're asking me this, but something clicked for me just now is like, I thought it was pre-med that I was the reason I was going to Southern, but God took me to Southern to put me in an environment for where I end up in my trajectory now. And
that's where we want to go, because it's so important to see that even in the direction you're going, us from the outside would say, yeah, again, Kasper is on the trajectory God wants him to be, yet we see a pivot point happening. Yeah. And you and I spoke about this, that you spent a year outside of college doing some task force work. For those who are not sure what that means,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that experience while you were in college and you took a year off.
Yeah. So this was my second year at Southern, and my roommate, Jeremy, shout out to Jeremy, runs in the room, and he's all excited. He's filling out this paperwork, and I was like, "What's up, bro?" And he was telling me, "Yeah, they're going to pay me to just take a year off and go have fun as a missionary." And I was like, "Oh, yeah,
Very
Africa,
simplistic
jungle.
one.
How are you going to have fun in the jungles?" Like, I'm not the spiritual kid.
Yeah.
Okay, like, I just want to put that, like, I'm not that kid. I'm the pre-med bio student
Academics
first,
driven,
and
yeah.
I'm hanging out and having fun with friends. That's my first 2 years at Southern. I'm not the guy on stage preaching, teaching.
Gotcha.
So when he said, "I'm going to be a missionary," I'm like, yeah, fun, jungles. He's like, "No, I'm going to Washington State." I'm like,
Yeah.
hold on. There's missionary work here
Yes.
in comfort? Tell me more.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, they're going to pay. I'm going to go to this, to be a dean." What's a dean? Yeah, you literally live in the dorm with students and you just hang out. And I was like, "They're paying you to take a year off to hang out. How do I do this?" And he's like, he takes me over to campus ministries. So I signed up.
So you were assuming I'm just going to go take a year off.
Yeah.
And God had different plans.
Yeah. Like I had come in as like a super freshman. I'd taken a whole bunch of like AP dual credit stuff. So like I had time. I had time to burn.
Yeah.
And still graduated in 4. And so I was like, well, let's go. So they actually matched me with Shenandoah Valley Academy here.
Oh, that's here in Virginia.
Yeah, here in Virginia. So I took off, and I think, yeah, there we go. Shenandoah Valley, kind of like a big, like a state-looking kind of place. I think in the next picture there, you know.
So you spent a year here.
So I spent a year there.
And how did this experience?
And in the dorm, yeah, I think we have a picture there in the dorm. Yeah, with those,
So you had
those
dorm
are my
life as well.
RAs. Yeah. And this was, I went in thinking, I'm just going to do something different.
Yeah.
And what, actually right before this, in the semester before this, I had taken psychology, Psych 101. And that was another big, like, eye-opener. Like, I came in very dead set on it's pre-med, it's biology, it's eye surgeon, and then I take psychology. I'm like, whoa, like, you can study people. And, like, there's this, so, like, the humanities side of like, just being, like, eyes open to other options out there. So I think God was just, like, working on me. So this year was kind of like, you're dealing with a whole bunch of behavioral issues. You're dealing with just watching coming from really difficult situations and coming out to the school where it was really kind of an oasis in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I had kids coming from inner city New York, inner city DC, gang affiliation, all kinds of stuff, and then realizing that they could make their own. Life didn't have to push them to be something. They could choose. That was just like so fulfilling.
Yeah. Is this what then caused you when you're spending that year, you come back to university?
Yeah.
And this is kind of where I kind of understand your story is.
Yeah. This is, I think, where we started hanging out way more when I came
crossed
back.
paths, because I remember you being more into the music, campus ministries.
Yeah.
You and I connected there as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so is this kind of what changed your path? How did you end up not being pre-med and finishing with something else?
Yeah, so I remember coming to the end of that year, and I just knew. Similar to like when I went to the Steve Green concert, I was just like,
yeah,
I'm
you had
gonna
a Steve Green moment again.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
it was just this moment, and it was kind of this blind trust, blind faith, however you want to say it, where it's just like, I know that I'm not supposed to be a doctor.
Wow.
I remember...
How did your parents take this news?
Yeah, I remember calling my dad, and by this time, so in high school, my dad had actually gotten invited. He's a full-time nurse, and then they invited him to actually pastor a church.
Wow.
In addition, so he worked the weekdays in the hospital, and then he pastored a church. That was the church I grew up in high school.
So like,
he's a pastor. He's known as a pastor, right? Bivocational pastor. So I call him up, and I'm remembering Andre's story,
from last week,
and you would think it would be like, wow, son, come join the family business,
right?
He's
going to hand you the church.
Yeah, and there was it wasn't that he was discouraging me as much as he was like, we're almost at the finish line of the dream.
Yeah.
And there's like my dream. There's also, we're almost at the finish line of what we've spent all these years paying for.
Yes.
Right? So like by this point, I'm like 3 semesters from sitting for the MCATs when I come back from this trip.
That's super close.
And so he's like,
yeah.
Are you sure? Like, are you quitting when the going gets, like, you're just about to finish here. And it wasn't a discouraging conversation. It was a challenging conversation because he said, you remember the story in the Bible about the fleece? Gideon and the fleece. Mm-hmm. So it's a story in the Old Testament. One of the Bible warriors, he wants to know, should I do this? Should I do that? And he prays this prayer to God, and it's, if I wake up in the morning and the sheep's fleece, which is super absorbent for water, if the ground is wet and the fleece is dry, then I'll know it's that I should do this.
Test God is basically what your dad
And so he wakes up and it is. And he's like, okay, let's reverse it.
Yeah.
And if the ground is dry and the fleece is wet, which is impossible, then I know. So my dad said, like, don't say it to me, don't say it out loud, just think it. Like, come up with 2-3 things that are a fleece, that are impossible.
Yeah.
Between you and this, you want to switch. And this idea of, like, I was like, I want to switch to religion. I don't want to be a pastor.
You still are not wanting to be a pastor.
I will
that
not
seems to be a theme here.
Be you.
Yes, yes.
I'm not a preacher. I'm not a...
but you wanted to be in ministry.
I want to be in ministry. I want to be, something about that year, that school, I was like, this, I'm way more fulfilled than I've ever been in my life. So it's this, and this is really close to religion, and this is the family bit. Like this, I know this area, so I'm just going to switch.
Gotcha. It
was
almost like you had a blind trust something was going to come.
So my dad was like, okay, test it.
Yeah.
Throw out your fleece. Three things that are impossible. Don't say it, just think it, and then pray. And I don't remember all 3 of the things, but there were some things that were impossible. Oh, the other part too, he said, is we're only paying for 4 years.
That's the key. That was your dad's real motivation. He said, I got...
Yeah. And so, so I'm coming back from this year off. So that's an additional year for the 4, right?
Yeah.
I'm coming back from this year off. And so money and timeline was an impossibility. Because I don't have, back then, Southern was, 30, 40 a year, whatever. Now it's,
Yeah, I don't even know, but it was a lot.
It's crazy. So I'm like, I'm not paying for Southern. My dad's not paying for Southern past X time. So, if I'm going to switch to religion, that means I'm restarting college. And so I was like, wow, that is impossible. So I remember getting back to Southern, and this is before the semester started, and I'm kind of just like, I probably should walk into the religion building. And keep in mind, remember, I'm not the religion kid.
Yeah.
I took the required religion class.
Yeah.
I don't even know, and that was it. I never walked back into the building. So I was like, I probably should walk in the building just to be in this place that I think I need to be.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and I bumped in, right? I'm thinking this is all random. I bump into the professor I took my required class from. So there's a professor at Southern. I don't know if he's there anymore. You probably took him as
I
Dr. Saman.
probably did. Yes, I did.
Dr. Saman was known as the guy you take a religion class from because it's a guaranteed A. There's no homework. He gives you all the answers for he was just known as so I had taken that my freshman year or whatever. So I bump into him. I actually liked his class because he didn't make us do anything.
Okay, that's one way of putting it.
He told stories, so like he was just a cool guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dr. Saman. And we started chatting, and I was just like, and I guess he could sense what was like on my, so he actually pulled it all out of me.
Yeah.
This feeling of like, I was like, yeah, Dr. Saman, I feel like this, but like, this is impossible, and this, I can't restart. Like, I'm about to graduate in a year and a bit. And he's like, so God is working in your life. And here's how I know. Everyone gives me the nickname of being the easy A.
So he already knew he was the easy A. Gotcha.
Later on, I find out that was actually, he was doing that intentionally.
Gotcha.
Because, remember I said I liked his class. He was doing that to catch us kids who were not wanting to be in religion.
Yeah.
She's like, everyone knows me as the easy professor. My class is a joke. I don't know if those were his words exactly, but
sure.
He's like, what almost nobody knows is I do manage. I am over a degree program here. It's not on the books. In your course cal, it's not there. It's not listed, and it's only by invitation. And it's called religious studies. And what religious studies is, it's a degree with no core classes. So they look at me as the joke professor. They give me the degree with no core class, but it's not a joke. What it is, it's meant to be an umbrella degree that absorbs whatever it is you are taking as your primary career field, to then add on the religious component for you to go out into the field to be a missionary.
So in other words, you had almost like a spiritual appointment with this person. You didn't even know.
I didn't even know.
And that was one of your impossible
That was
questions
one of my fleeces.
that was answered.
In that moment.
And so you finished at Southern with religious studies,
Yeah.
not knowing what was going to be next.
No. Yeah.
But at Southern, I'm assuming you had kind of an experiences, because I saw you doing music, you were in campus ministry, so
And
this is kind of
here's
your
the thing.
trajectory.
You don't know this, Ruben.
Yeah.
Or maybe you do. But I have a picture of us.
This was not part of our discussion.
There we are. You remember this?
I do remember this. I don't know
This is
how you
talent
found
show.
this.
This is talent show. So when Ruben says we go back, we go back. This is talent show. You remember what we called our little band?
Something with
Cereal
toys.
Cereal toys.
Wow, this this interview was not supposed to be about me. It was more about you, Kasper.
And we won. What was that? The little Ken dolls. Anyways, this is on the side.
This is just to prove we know each other. But
Yeah. Yeah.
on that note, throwing me off a little.
Yeah.
I saw you doing music all the time.
Yeah.
And so was this now the trajectory you wanted to go?
Yeah, because I come back and I'm in the religious studies, and so here, and so this is where I really jump into campus ministries, and I'm taking, like, I switch over, and all my classes are religion because I have the core already. Remember, I'm 3-ish semesters away from
Sure.
finishing. So all I need to do is just catch up to speed on the religion side of things. And I jump in on campus. I forget at what point you became chaplain.
I was chaplain at the time.
And so, like, I was working for you almost in
Kind of,
campus ministries. Yeah. And back then, this is in the era where, some of you might know the Gemmel family was here. So I went to Southern, and their son, Nathan, was like the worship leader on stage. He was one of the first to start the contemporary worship thing. And then we were the next generation to, like, and so we were building. I remember coming back, and this is where we and our buddies, like, we were building out what is now kind of normal in our church community in terms of, like, this worship experience we have now. We were, like, building that out.
So I want to touch on that because clearly, we see you here. You're not doing music, which now everyone knows you can. So, after you finish Southern, you're no longer focused on medicine, eye surgery, eye doctor. You and I spoke about a time that you spent in Australia.
Yeah.
And you spent a year in Australia, and you were a youth pastor?
Yeah, so I graduate Southern with religious studies. I don't really know what I'm going to do. I first, so through a friend of a friend, I ended up with a worship pastor job out in Denver. And 4 months into that, I got a call from a random, to me, guy with an Australian accent. Literally, middle of the afternoon, it was just a guy on the phone, and he's saying, you come down and be a task force pastor with us. They had figured out the missionary program in the Adventist church to where they could get a free intern pastor by calling it a missionary.
Sure.
And so, so they flew me down those pictures that you saw there.
That was your time in Australia?
That was my time in Australia, where I'm doing, like, almost everything I know now about church, what church can be, I learned down there at that place. It was a contemporary church plant. I get down on the ground, and he says, you're going to run Friday night with the kids. They were actually using sharing space with the Salvation Army, and the Salvation Army was running for the community all the stuff for the kids on the weekdays, and then the church was running it on the weekends. So when he said we're a community church, they were actually a community church.
They were involved in the community.
The community was walking. How
did your time there change your view on what it meant to minister, what it meant to be a pastor?
Oof. I still remember when he sat me down in the beginning, he said, Friday night, you're not going to run Bible studies with the kids.
Seems anti-church, but sure.
He's like, just create relationships, hang out, play foosball, play basketball, just hang out. Maybe you do a prayer, but just build relationships and invite them to church in the morning. These are not, like, there's some kids from the church that grew up in church. Like, these are literally the kids from that neighborhood coming in. And at first, I'm just, because I'm coming from, like, a conservative kind of Christian, like, Friday night at Southern, like, we had church check, where we had to wear a tie, like, mandated to wear a tie.
So it was complete opposite.
Complete opposite. It was just love people, be interested, like, hang out, and the faith will come later.
It seems that during this time, God is almost preparing you for something that you can't imagine.
Yeah.
And you go through this journey. You have these moments of just blind trust. I'm going to go to Southern. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to go to Australia. I don't know what that's going to entail, but it's kind of, and I want to get in. We had a conversation because there's a crucial moment in your life where you decide to go to seminary, which seems counterproductive or counterintuitive to what you keep saying. I never wanted to be a pastor, but you make decisions as if you wanted to be one.
Never wanted to be, and I'm keep making these.
Yes. Yeah. So now you go to seminary, which in and of itself is a interesting story.
Well, just that story is another, even just ending up at seminary is another one of these kind of like blind trust falls.
Sure.
We're like going to Australia. Literally, guy picks, and in a week I sold everything and bought a plane ticket and moved to Australia for a year. I come back from Australia in 2009. So I lived in, like, metaphorical Disneyland during the 2008 crash here in America. We didn't have a crash. Well, the crash happened later there, but so I come back and I didn't know that nobody had jobs here or money. And so I come back and there's nothing. There's no pathways. I think I went back to the grocery store that I worked at in high school.
You worked at a grocery store. Wow.
And my dad had actually arranged with another pastor he knew across town for me to kind of part-time youth pastor over there. Fun fact, that was a church where, as a part of the youth group, I had a really bright young student named Chelsea Columpiano.
Oh, wow.
Who later became Chelsea Tyler, who became pastor here at New Hope.
Wow. Full circle. Guys.
Full circle, yeah. But, so, like, I'm just in this summer after coming back where I'm just, like, kind of lost. Like, no real path. In my mind, just this thought came, economy's bad, re-up your education. Like, go get a master's. And I had, in the back of my mind, been like, maybe I should do an MDiv. And I'll go to Dallas because it's, Dallas
you're back in Texas,
is right there. Or I'll go to Fuller. And one of my friends from back in Southern, her name was Kessia Rain. I knew she was at Andrews Seminary, the Seventh-day Adventist Seminary. And I was like, let me call her and see, what is this like?
Yeah.
What is this thing? By the end of the call, she had basically convinced me to come to Andrews.
Another blind leap of faith, because you were not registered to go to...
Not registered. And at the end of the call, I was like, oh, well, I'll apply, and, how many weeks do we have until the start of the school year? And she was like, oh, classes start on Monday.
Wow, you were just cutting it
was
close.
A Friday.
Yeah.
And she was like, just buy a plane ticket and fly here. The professors, and they don't know who's a student, who's not at the seminary. I'm not trying to say... I'm not trying to...
You can't put that information out there. People are just going to go to class now.
This was at a time. I don't know it's probably different now.
Yeah.
But she was like, look, this happens all the time. People come, church conferences send their pastors to seminary. They don't know who's their student, who's not their student for the first 3 months of classes. So buy a ticket, fly here, crash on my husband and I's couch. I have all the books. I'll tell you which classes to just walk into. Pretend you're a student. Don't tell them. Just walk in and turn in homework.
Wait a second, you actually turned in homework too?
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is another one. I go to my dad on that Friday, and I'm like, Dad, you remember how I quit pre-med overnight?
Yeah.
Remember how I flew to Australia overnight? I think I'm going to seminary on
overnight.
Monday.
Yeah.
and
they don't know I'm going to be there.
That was the huge blind leaf where I was just like, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. And how long were you at seminary then?
So there's 2 tracks at seminary.
Sure.
One is like a 3 or 4 year track if you've never taken religion. Another one is like a fast track, kind of 1.5 year, like because you've done religion. I was like in this in between zone. I was supposed to be there the long haul, but what I kind of lobbied for, I was like, look, I've taken the classes except for like these couple ones. Just let me into the first track. And they're like, we can't let you do that, but we'll create a 3rd track for you.
They created a track for you.
They created what's now known as the track 3. There's track 1, track 2. They created track 3 for me. And then now that's just available for folks. And I had to do some remedial classes, but even down to the finances, like literally, I was up there. I was not accepted, but I was turning in homework, taking tests.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like beginning of November
that I got accepted. You were very committed for them not knowing you were there. Yeah.
Yeah. And the finance part of it through FAFSA, like that kind of came through, and I don't know, God just kind of paved that pathway for that to happen.
Your story seems to be very much of this blind faith of God kind of taking you, Kasper, and saying, okay, you're going this direction, I'm going to take you this direction.
Yeah.
And when you were finishing seminary, the trajectory is now we're going to place you in a church and kind of have you grow there.
Yeah.
But I know you mentioned youth ministry was kind of the way you wanted to go.
Yeah.
Is that kind of where you transitioned
That's
to
what
when
I
you
thought it was, because like the pivot back in college was because of the boarding school and the kids there. So in my mind, it's youth ministry. I even during seminary, I became GA for the department with the youth ministries degree, so that was just it. I was going to be youth, young adult ministry. Yeah. And a huge part of that too was just like the mentors around me were the leaders in the Seventh-day Adventist Church who were doing all the kind of stuff that's kind of, if you've heard of Growing Young, or God Encounters, like those were the leaders that were starting this like new focus on young adult ministry in the Adventist Church. So like in my mind, I'm just like carrying their torch. Yeah. So I come out of seminary. I get picked up by a church in Ohio to be their children and youth pastor.
Children and youth pastor, okay.
I quickly realized that those are 2 completely different skill sets.
Yes, 100%.
And I did not have the children skill set or desire.
Sure.
And I love on our kids ministries, but
just not your thing, and
not
that's
my
fine.
thing.
Everyone needs to figure their thing out.
So we were able to spin that off into a children's ministry position, and through my time there, so this is kind of where I come to a crisis point, because all along, remember, I'm not a pastor.
Yes, you keep
Somehow
saying that.
I keep finding myself as a pastor. So, but really, what's been going on is, I'm a little kid in church. I'm at the soundboard. When we're at college, we're like the crew that's like from behind the scenes, revolutionizing what worship is. But I'm not usually the person preaching or with the guitar. I'm the one working on the lights or the sound because campus ministries wouldn't support what we were doing in contemporary, so we had to do it ourselves. I come out to Australia. Yeah, I'm the youth pastor, but I'm also on the band. Come into seminary, and you're supposed to have a church that you intern at as a pastor. And I found a loophole that I could just be in the band at Pioneer Memorial as the electric guitarist. And that was my church. And that kind of morphed into, halfway through that, I joined the broadcast team. And everything I know about cameras and video and broadcast, like they have a TV studio there. So
you were learning this early on. You were learning about media. You were learning about, and this is pre-COVID, when streaming kind of exploded. So it's almost as if you were being trained for a position that no one knew was going to exist.
Yeah, and that's what started to kind of come to a crisis point for me at this church in Ohio, where we were growing our media. Like exponentially. And the pastor there, the senior pastor there, wanted to kind of model after Loma Linda University or Andrews with the kind of the TV side of things. So we were just blowing up on that side of things. And I came to a point where I realized, man, my passion for the youth stuff is here. My passion for the media stuff is here.
That's a crisis moment.
And I'm sitting there going, man. And I have a buddy of mine back in that time who runs a high-end audiovisual installation company, and he's constantly like, hey, I got a job for you. And I'm thinking in my mind, why did I go to seminary if I have no passion for this pastoring thing? I've never wanted to be a pastor. Should I? And I felt like there was this like choice where I'm like, okay, let's just stop trying to mesh together something that is just not going to work. I love the media stuff. The thing that I thought I liked, the youth stuff, that's just not my thing. And so I'm sitting there going, okay, either I give up on the media, the thing I know and love and am passionate about, and I just do the pastoring, preaching that they all want me to do, that I went to school for, and I give up something I love. Or I give up this ministry, this thing that's somehow like I'm supposed to do this pastoring thing, but not preach, and I just go on the track. I take the job from my buddy, and so I go to the senior pastor, and we had a whole bunch of stuff going on at that time, and I was like, look, this job of media and youth pastor, you need to split them out into 2 full-time roles. You can't just, there's too much going on here.
So you were saying I need to split my role to 2 different positions.
And he said to me, which do you want to be? And I knew in that moment I was signing my paper, like
your resignation.
Not even resignate. Like my answer would mean they would need to fire me.
Because you were going to say media. And you knew that there was no position like that.
They're not going to not have a youth pastor.
Yeah.
They can easily not have a media pastor.
But here's the key question for me, though, is after you said media, how did you feel? Was there a sense of relief?
I felt like I was on cloud 9.
Because you were being honest
I knew,
with yourself.
I knew it was another blind leap where I was just like, we'll figure it out. Like the same kind of I just know there's a path out there. I can't explain it. I'm a very rational kind of personality. I was just,
in a way, we're kind of explaining it right now because, and here's where the culmination happens, because obviously we see you today. We see you, Kasper, all running around, doing the media, putting things together. And again, when we focus on these stories and we take that bird's eye view, we are in awe of how God is piecing things together in our stories. And in that crucial moment, you said, I want to do this type of job, which for all intents and purposes,
didn't exist.
That job does not exist.
Didn't exist.
So how
but
is it?
I knew it would exist. I just knew. Same way that, when we came up in Southern, there were no worship pastor jobs in this church. But then I saw my buddies getting worship pastor jobs as churches started to see.
So you knew this church, churches are going to need this eventually, and this is what I want to do. Because the easy answer would have been, go start your own media company if this is your passion, but you said, no, I want to stick with ministry.
Yeah.
So which leads to my question. Now we see you here today at New Hope.
Yeah.
How did you see God's hand working that eventually got you here? And I know it's a full question.
Every point along the way,
Yeah.
God was training me for a job that exists today in 2026, but did not exist in 2003, in 2010. Did not even an inkling of an idea that this job of media pastor and the skill set needed for that, even down to being a pioneer and being on the media team and getting trained by one of the best broadcasters in the Center of Church on how to do broadcasts, or how to run a team, the passion for the worship and the music. It was all leading up to 2022. I was at the Ohio conference setting up camp meeting, literally out in 90-degree day, middle of the summer, setting up a tent with the AV gear. And I get a phone call from my old buddy, Andre, which actually, pull up the picture.
Andre from here.
Pull up the black and white picture. So this is us back in seminary. That's Andre there, almost to the right. A couple of our buddies, his brother Tiago.
Pulling out old photos of everyone you know.
We had a little band together. So I get this phone call from Andre. And it had literally been since seminary almost that we had talked. And he's like, hey, so we're catching up. He's like, hey, you want to come do something different? And then Mike called me. And Mike was like, here's what we got. And as Mike is explaining it all, I'm like, that's what it was all for.
Did Andre know the struggle you were going through, or he just assumed?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know that he did, because right at that time, like in 2022, I was like Andre called me like middle of the summer, from like spring of that year. I was just sitting in this like angst of like, man, I don't want to do this job anymore. I was doing there, I was like, man, something's got to change. And boom. It's like God is just like step by step opening up and leading me towards something.
Yeah. So in 2022, you get this call, you come to New Hope at a job that, in a ministry you did not know was going to be designed. Was this something pre-designed, or did you help design what we see today?
So that was part of the call from Mike. You know, when he called me up, he was like, we have an idea of where we want to go. We need you to come build it. He's like, I have a job description, but it's I might as well not send it to you because you're going to write it as you come. Yeah.
If you had one final message for those watching, for them here on your story.
Yeah.
Because again, we all have a story. We all have a journey. And clearly now we're talking about yours. What would that message be of how God guided your way?
I'm thinking back to, back at seminary, actually, conversation I had with my mentor, and he was also my boss in that GA, as I was a GA. There's a point in seminary where I was just like, I'm not connected with any of these classes. I don't want to do this anymore. And I went to him, I was like, because he was over the, so I was taking an MDiv, which is the general big religion degree. He was over the MA of youth ministry. And I was like, hey, I just can't do this MDiv thing. I don't care about 99% of the classes I go to. And the 1% of classes I go to are all of your classes. So I'm just going to switch to MA youth ministry because that's what I know I'm going to do. And he gave me some of the best advice I ever had in my life. And it's kind of that overarching, it kind of knit together this story of faith and trust. And he said, I'm not going to let you do that. And because I want you to take the broadest degree you can possibly afford to take, because you have no idea where God is going to take you in the future.
That's right.
And he made me finish, no, he didn't make me,
but
he made me finish the MDiv.
Yeah.
Not specialize. Not pre-decide what I'm going to be. Because all my life, I pre-decide I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be. And all this time, God is prepping me for a thing that doesn't even exist. How would I know to say I'm going to be a media pastor?
Yeah.
So God's got you. Like that's the message of my life.
Yeah.
Which is like sometimes you just get a feeling, which doesn't make rational sense. And I know, like, not to bring your story up, but like we're friends, and like I know a little part of your journey over the last little bit.
Yeah.
And I know some other folks' journeys where there's just like I gotta jump out of the plane, but I don't have a parachute.
Yeah.
I don't recommend that.
Yeah. God's going to put the parachute on as you jump out. So
I'm not trying to say that's the lesson for today.
No, but I like what you said.
Yeah.
God has got you. And that's the most simplest way of saying it, because we all have valleys. We all go down. We all go up. We have ins and outs of our stories that a lot of times we feel, where is God? Or we make decisions that don't make any sense. And in sharing your story, that's what I appreciate about your story, because obviously there's a lot more in-depth in all our stories. But the highlights of your story just show that God has got you, and he's taking care of you, and he has a path for you, and he has a path for all of us here. Yeah. And so I want to thank you for your taking that time to do that and opening up to us this morning. I know there's a lot more, and I appreciate you sharing with us this morning. Thanks, Kasper. Yeah. And for you watching online, I want to thank you as well. To again register and join us again for next time. And all you here, thank you again.